Imagine this. Everything you say is being monitored and recorded. Now, I'm not talking about the NSA tracking cell phone calls. I'm talking about the scrutiny presidential candidates come under with every word they utter on the campaign trail. And in an exclusive interview with our Gloria Borger, former presidential candidate Mitt Romney admits there are things he wishes he'd never said, things he wishes he could do over, and things he wants to see his party do differently in the future.
I have to ask you this first. Are you over it?
Yeah. I mean, Ann and I went through a extraordinary process to become president and her first lady, and that didn't happen. We were extraordinarily disappointed, let a lot of people down, let ourselves down.
I am over it. It's still hard to watch things and watch the news and feel like you wish you were there, but you move on.
You were in the public eye every single day for, what, almost 2 years?
Right.
So how do you go from that
to going 100 miles an hour to zero overnight?
Yeah.
It's what it's like where you're in this bubble of Secret Service and automobiles and planes and private, jets with the 737s and the entire press corps following you, and then bang, done. I mean, for anyone, that would be a difficult adjustment. Mitt's father used to say this, and I loved it. He said, politics, it's the fastest way to go from who's who to who's that.
The light green.
Especially when you lose. The trappings of power may go away, but the post-game analysis lives on.
Some people say that the problem is the party. Some people say the problem with your campaign was the Romney campaign and the candidate. Have you sort of done a lot of searching about that, about where that balance was?
Well, I feel pretty good about the fact that the team, the party, the people who worked in the campaign, Ann and myself, our sons, we left it all in the field. But lessons learned, clearly we can do a better job as a Republican Party in registering Republicans and getting people out to vote. And as a campaign and as a campaigner, the next person who is our nominee has to do a better job than I did at connecting with minority voters, getting more support from minority families, and with families that are hoping to make it into the middle class.
There are 47% who are with him, who are dependent upon government, who believe that they're victims.
Do you look back on that and say that that hurt the party?
Oh, I don't know that any particular remark hurts a party,
okay.
But in terms of prospects, for the election, I said that was a statement that was, of course, not a statement, if you will. It was taken off the record, but nonetheless, and it did not reflect my views. I said it didn't come out the way I wanted it to. But surely that didn't help me, and there were other things that didn't help my campaign either. Obviously, a hurricane with a week to go before the election stalled our campaign. But you don't. Do you blame Chris Christie as much as some other people in your? I wish the hurricane hadn't happened when it did, because it gave the president a chance to be presidential and to be out showing sympathy for folks. That's one of the advantages of incumbency. But you don't look back and worry about each little thing and how could that have been different. You look forward.
There was that post-election meeting at the White House with a vague promise to keep in touch.
Have you heard from them?
I haven't heard from the White House since our meeting, and that was a very gracious thing. The president and I had a very cordial meeting, shared lunch together. And I spoke about presidential legacies.
And speaking of legacies,
the president has been dealing with a lot of problems in Washington these days, and one of them is the IRS controversy. Do you believe that there was an attempt to hide the IRS targeting in the middle of your presidential race?
I believe the IRS individuals conducted a series of acts which were a breach of trust.
But do you think it had to do with hiding it because they were in the middle of a presidential campaign?
I think they certainly hid the activities of targeting conservative groups. Otherwise, there would have been a hue and outcry about it.
Would it have changed the outcome of the campaign if you had known about it?
The election was close enough in the outcome, with, 4% difference between the two campaigns, that a number of things could have changed the outcome. But again, you don't look back and say, oh, couldn't we have just changed this? You say, okay, where do we go now? The president won. I congratulate his campaign team on having won. That's the nature of politics, is winning. They won. Nice work, and let's get on with it.
Romney has picked up the debate right where he left off, sounding tougher on Benghazi than he did during the campaign.
Why, for instance, special forces told they had the capacity to fly from Tripoli to come into Benghazi to provide rescue support for our personnel there, were told to stand down. Who told them that? Why? Where did it come from? Why was there no rescue effort? What was the mistake made? And who made that? And how can we make sure that never happens again? Was the White House informed? Why not, if they were not? Why was the president not informed of an attack going on in our embassy and in the Situation Room? I mean, this is, if you will, an attack on America. My favorite campaign.
Romney sits on the sidelines now, hoping to mentor the next batch of Republican presidential hopefuls, and offers some playful advice.
Don't make any mistakes. Be perfect. Be perfect. And the funny thing is, everyone says, be spontaneous. Don't act like you're being crafted. Well, today, everything you say is being captured by video or handheld camera and so forth. And so jokes, for instance, will get you in trouble. Anytime you're trying to be funny, you're likely to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've just got to be very, very careful.
I have to ask you about Clint Eastwood. So that was your idea, right?
Oh, I love Clint Eastwood.
It was Clint's idea. You mean with the chair?
No,
well, I mean, having and then the chair.
Well, no, Clint was the chair. It was my idea to have Clint. He's an extraordinary.
Do you regret that?
No, I love Clint, and he has his own way of saying things. He did it in a very
Do you
memorable
regret that?
No, he's unique.
So no?
No regrets.
Look, Clint didn't hurt my campaign. I hurt my campaign a couple of times. Clint didn't.
Would you have any of your sons run for public office? Because Tag, there was talk about Tag maybe running for the Senate.
Running as a Republican in Massachusetts, which Tag would have to do.
That's happened before.
Yeah, but I'd say don't do it.
It depends on the circumstance. If one of our boys or our daughters-in-law finds himself in a position where they could make a real contribution and they're needed, school board, mayor, Congress, whatever, I'd expect them to stand up and volunteer if their life was in a setting that allowed that to happen.
Sounds like you're a yes and you're a no. That's
ambivalent about it, really hard, because I'm thinking of what the family has to go through.